There's a strange moment that happens to a lot of leaders. At first, being needed feels good. The one people rely on. You across everything. You've involved in the decisions. You're the person who keeps things moving. And for a while, that can look like strong leadership. But then something starts to happen. Everything begins to slow down around you. People wait for your input. Decisions stack up. Delegation looks fine on paper, but somehow work keeps coming back to you. You become tired. The team becomes cautious. And the whole system starts leaning too heavily on one person. And that person is usually the leader. And this is where leadership gets a bit uncomfortable. Because what once looked like commitment can quietly become dependency. There's what the final dimension is about. In this video, we're looking at LD5, Mobilising Support. The leadership capacity to scale through other people, build shared ownership, delegate real authority, and reduce dependency on the leader as the approver. This is where mature leadership starts to become visible at the system level. Because truly strong leaders do not just carry more. They help the whole system carry more. Hello, I'm Pietro Pazzi. I spent 30 years as an executive in global leadership roles. I've seen brilliant leaders burn out, lose themselves, or hit an invisible ceiling. I realized what was missing wasn't strategy or tactics or another tool. It was depth work on the inner operating system. So I returned to my training in Psychosynthesis, and now I help leaders integrate their inner world with their leadership impact. The purpose of LD5 is this: to scale leadership through others, mobilizing shared ownership, delegating authority cleanly, and reduce dependency on the leader as the approver. That phase, scale leadership through others, really matters. Because at a certain point, leadership is no longer about being the smartest, the fastest, or most capable person in the room. It becomes about whether movement can happen without everything passing through you. Can others make decisions confidently? Can they carry real ownership? Can they challenge, contribute, and act without waiting for your signal every 5 minutes? If the answer is no, then even a most talented leader becomes a constraint. And that can be quite hard to admit, because many leaders do not become bottlenecks out of ego in some obvious dramatic way. Sometimes it happens more subtly. Sometimes it's through care, sometimes through anxiety, sometimes through perfectionism, sometimes through the belief that it's just quicker if I do it myself. I've seen that pattern so many times, and if I'm honest, it's one of those traps that can feel almost noble while quietly undermining the team. So LD5 asks a deeper question. Am I building a more capable system around me, or a more dependent one? In this model, LD5 is powered mainly by alignment and human connection, with an important overlap with delivery. Let's take those one at a time. The first primary capability is alignment. This includes trust building, cultural agility, collaborative creativity, communication skill, and activating mobility so the system moves across boundaries. That last part is so important. The system moves across boundaries, because leaders today is really just about your immediate team. It involves functions, cultures, priorities, stakeholders, and other competing agendas. So a leader strong in LD5 knows how to create movement across those boundaries rather than getting trapped inside them. They build trust, they communicate clearly, they help people see what they own and how they fit. They turn conversations into coordination. The second primary capability is human connection. Now, this is about staying rational, showing acknowledgement, leading with humility and compassion, and letting go quickly after strain so relationships can continue to carry the load. Now, that's not soft, it's incredibly practical because mobilization depends on relationships that can carry pressure. If people feel dismissed, micromanaged, or quietly mistrusted, they do not step fully into ownership. They comply a bit, they wait, they hedge, they protect themselves. But when leaders stay relational, especially after mistakes, friction, or disappointment, they make it easier for others to keep showing up with energy and courage. Then there's the overlap with delivery, and this matters because mobilization is not just about collaboration. It has to lead somewhere. This overlap is what turns shared ownership into outcomes. Loop closure, accountability, follow through. Without it, you get lots of participation, lots of discussion, and maybe even lots of goodwill, but not enough movement. And that's the trap that this model names really good: collaboration without results. A leader strong in LD5 usually behaves in some very recognizable ways. First, they ask for help early. That might be help with capability, expertise, challenge, or perspective. And they do this without shame and without delay. This one sounds simple, but it's huge. Many leaders only ask for help once things are already in trouble. By then, the pressure is high, the options are narrow, and the request carries more stress. A mature leader asks early. Second, they delegate decisions with real authority and clear success criteria, not just tasks. That difference matters enormously. Delegating a task says, please do this for me. Delegating authority says, you can decide within these boundaries, and here's what success looks like. That is how capability grows. Third, they do not reclaim delegated work when anxiety rises. Honestly, this may be one of the hardest tests in leadership. Things get wobbly, stakes rise, the leader gets nervous, and suddenly the delegated work starts drifting back uphill. A stronger LD5 leader notices that impulse and resists it. They support without taking over. Fourth, they mobilize across functions and cultures, using trust building and cultural agility. They understand that different teams, departments, and regions may interpret things differently. So, they do the work of translating, connecting, and building bridges rather than assuming alignment will happen magically. Fifth, they co-create ownership rather than extract compliance. That line really says a lot because compliance is fragile. Ownership has energy in it. Compliance says, fine, I'll do it. Ownership says, I'm in. 6, they ensure alignment turns into movement. That means owners, timelines, reviews, and very clear next steps, not just agreement in the room. And finally, they become less central over time because the system becomes more capable. I really love that as a mark of maturity. A leader's success is not proved by how indispensable they become. It is proved by how much healthy capability grows around them. When mobilizing support is weak, a few patterns tend to show up. The first is obvious. The leader becomes the bottleneck, sometimes explicitly, sometimes invisibly. Everyone waits for the approval, the answer, the signal, the rescue. The second is delegation with strings. Work is delegated but not really released. The leader keeps hovering, rechecking, revising, and quietly taking it back. The third is help seeking, only at crisis point, By then, it often feels reactive, panicked, or too late. And the fourth is that alignment becomes conversation, not movement. There are meetings, good discussion, lots of shared language, but the delivery overlap is weak. So ownership stays thin and outcomes stay patchy. So mobilizing support is the leadership capacity to scale through others. It helps you lead from personal effort to shared movement, from control to trust, from centrality to capability, from dependency to distributed ownership. Without it, the leader becomes the system's choke point. With it, the system becomes stronger, faster, and resilient. And that brings us to the end of our 6-part series. We began with video 1, the 5 dimensions and the 5 capabilities of leadership, where I introduced the whole model and showed how the dimensions and capabilities work together. Then we moved to video 2, which was about self-awareness, noticing your patterns in real time and leading less reactively. Video 3 was about impact awareness, understanding how your leadership lands on others and creating trust and truth flow. Video 4 was about systems awareness, seeing the deeper conditions shaping repeated problems. And then video 5 was about will and delivery, making clear choices, holding steady under resistance, and closing the loop. And now video 6, mobilizing support, scaling leadership through others so the whole system becomes more capable. Taken together, these 6 videos form one journey from leading yourself to leading relationships, to leading systems, to leading execution, to leading through others. And really, that is the path of mature leadership. If this perspective speaks to you and you want to develop your leadership from the inside out, explore my depth leadership coaching at pietropazzi.com. You can also book a 30-minute complimentary exploratory chat with me. You'll find both the links in the description. Thank you so much for being here and for following this series. I really appreciate your time, and I hope these videos have given you a useful map for thinking more deeply and more practically about your leadership. Please visit my channel where I've uploaded and continue to upload videos that cover leadership themes that are crucial in our world today.